here we go. I'll try again. I will call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education, which was duly noticed on September 9th, 2022, through posting and notification of the press in accordance with Wisconsin 19.84. That is really loud. You guys can hear me in the back, right? Okay. Okay. Anyway, all right. Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Sarah Brem, the principal at Jackson Elementary. This is her second year at Jackson and her 12th year in education. Sarah received her bachelor's degree in early childhood education from the University of Toledo in Toledo, Ohio. She is certified to teach pre-K through grade 3. Sarah taught for 2 years in Adelanto, California, as a first grade teacher. She came to the School District of Janesville in 2013, where she was hired to teach at Kennedy Elementary. While at Kennedy, she received her master's degree in educational leadership and policy analysis from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2019. Sarah has held various roles within the School District of Janesville. She is taught as first, second grade loop at Kennedy for 8 years. She's held a teacher. She was head teacher for summer school at Harrison and Kennedy for a combined 3 years. She was an academic learning coach at Jackson for 1 year. She served as building assistant to Kennedy and Jackson for a combined 2 years. Sarah, who have you brought with you this evening?
Well, tonight I have with me 3 amazing 5th grade students representing Jackson Elementary School: Manuel Patino, Ella Wilner, and Nolan Lawrence. These students were chosen to lead the Pledge of Allegiance tonight because they show qualities in which others can learn from. These students next to me are kind to each other and to staff. They participate in class, and they're prepared. They might make mistakes just like you and I, but what's so cool about these 3 is they learn from their mistakes and they do better the next time. Our staff is very proud of these 3 Jackson Tigers.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, it was Kevin and then Lisa. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. All right, thank you. Safety message.
All right, good evening. Just real short and sweet. We have a new driver in the house at the Hayworth family household. So just something that's been on my mind lately, and I keep telling him, is I'd rather you get there a couple minutes late than speed and get into trouble or cause an accident that might, regret, have consequences that you would regret. So just a reminder to everybody to slow down. I also live next to a school, and it takes about 10 minutes for the chaos to subside. So go slowly, give the kids time to get across the street, get to their parents or wherever they're trying to get to. Just reminder to slow down this time of year.
Thank you very much. Okay, as a matter of fact, on NPR this morning, there was a big discussion about people's driving habits and how we apparently have forgotten courtesy and the rules in the last couple of years. So I think they were blaming COVID, but I don't know. But anyway, why not? Okay, any citizen comments tonight? None? Okay, thank you very much. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for September 13th as presented? Okay. Okay, so that was a motion from Commissioner Dommerhausen and then Commissioner Murray. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, thank you. And we do have two commissioners absent tonight. Okay, board items. Mr. Garner, we have a new Assistant Director of Pupil Services.
Yes, we do. It's my pleasure to introduce to the board Thea Murphy, who's been with our district 11 years and in total 32 years in education, which she must have started when she was 18 or something like that. Who knows? But I'm going to bring Thea up. Come on up, please.
Commissioners, Superintendent Holzman, directors, I'm here to introduce myself and to express my gratitude to you for entrusting me in my new role as Assistant Director of Pupil Services. Like Scott said, this is my 32nd year in education. I spent 26 years as a special ed teacher, working with students with emotional and behavioral disabilities. Did a year of behavior intervention, and then I was here before you probably exactly 4 years ago thanking you for giving me my dream job. Well, little did I know, I have found a new dream job. I have enjoyed my role. I was the coordinator of special education for 4 years prior to taking on this role, and it's been a wonderful experience, and I look forward to doing more amazing things and working with a wonderful group of people. Thank you.
You'll see the bit of green above it, so it's working. This one is. Yeah. There you go. Okay, Finance, Buildings, and Grounds report. Mr. McCray, thank you.
Thank you very much. So pinch hitting, if you will, for Commissioner Ardrey. So several weeks ago, we had a Finance, Buildings, and Grounds Committee. So we had 4 members in attendance, so fully rostered, so appreciative of that and the feedback that administratively we were provided. A couple key highlights, if you will. One is an update on capital maintenance and referendum work. So summer is a busy time for our maintenance staff, as well as coordinating contractors on site. So we did just under about $500,000 in projects, from asphalt to concrete to roofing, throughout the district. And again, a full report was presented to the committee. Those are some highlights. And we also talked about the ongoing referendum supported work. And of course, we always thank the community for the support and the ability to do such work throughout the district. So just an update on our 6 boilers. Please don't ask me to name them as many times as I've talked about them. I continue to draw a blank at times, but we are upgrading 6 boilers, some of which date back to the original construction of 1958. Lincoln would be an example of that. So that work is ongoing. At times, if you will, slow. There are supply chain management issues, not only related to the boiler work, but also really related to our secure pathways. Try to find glass, try to find different camera systems, not full camera systems, but iPhones and other building components, and it is a bit of a challenge. If you were to walk into Craig today, you would see temporary doors in their office space simply because of the backlog or back order, if you will, of doors within the supply chain. Excuse me. But we're very valued. We have a very valued partner in the community, JP Cullen, who's performing that work. So it's not as pure as we would like it, and we certainly recognize it. Back to the boilers, because the question that came up, was October 1st, if you will, is the date that we expect those to go online. So we will meet the heating season. As you know, we have no conditioned air at 11 of our 12 elementary buildings, so that's not a particular issue. And you may say, why do we need boilers for conditioned air? It really is to take out humidity within the building. So that's where we're at with some of those projects. Any questions? Okay. As Commissioner Holtzman understands, the more he works with me, it's really hard for me to give up the floor. So I do have to pause occasionally. We also, and you read this in the paper, in terms of 4 of our very older buildings in the district. Keep in mind that the average age of our buildings, if you net out the Kimball building, right, is still 61 years old. All right, so we do have an aging infrastructure, 4 of which the city of Janesville is interested in recognizing, not as a historical landmark, but a historical place. So there's very little work on our part. It's really the city carrying the standard for us, but they certainly asked if that was something we'd be willing to pursue, and sure. Of course, as the CFO, I'm always interested in terms of is there an economic benefit to us as a district. Unfortunately, there is not. So I was deeply saddened by that. However, if we were to ever sell a building to a private developer, and I say that with, that's not in our future that I can see anyway, then there would be private sector incentives for purchasing a building on the National Register of Historic Places. It's an application process, and so the City of Janesville is supported by the State Historical Commission in terms of pursuing that application. So that's really just been kind of set to go, and we'll see what we hear. If you've not darkened the door of Adams or Washington or Wilson or Roosevelt, right, there's really interesting tile work, some of the brickwork on the exterior related to the entrances. If we even think of Wilson, when there was an addition to that, we really tried to maintain the integrity of the appearance of that building dating back to its original construction. So thanks to the city for recognizing that. Thanks to Dave and his crew for maintaining those buildings, even though they are very, very old and still are in need of work. It doesn't forego them perhaps being a qualifier for the National Register of Historic Places. I'm sorry, we're all out of time for questions. No, please.
So historic places
Yes.
as opposed to a historic building? What's the distinction? Probably Patrick might be able to help you too.
Patrick, do you recall?
Because he's,
It's the National Trust for Historic Preservation that maintains a list for national historic places. It can be a site or it can be an area.
okay,
Like, for example, Janesville does have historic neighborhoods,
yes,
one of which is on the National Register, Courthouse Hill.
Mhm.
And there's actually a few others that are part of it. Those are areas, but then also individual buildings can also be listed.
I see. And does this put any constraints on us as far as any remodeling or anything like that? Because,
None whatsoever.
okay,
So that would be if we had a building that was perhaps nominated and accepted to be a historic landmark.
okay, okay,
So then you want to change the windows, you can't change the windows, right? You want to change whatever elements, it has to fall into whatever standards. So that particular program is administered by the National Park Service. This I don't believe is. It's just a historic place.
I see. On a side note, I learned years ago, and I don't know if this is still true, but Janesville is second to Savannah, Georgia, with the number of historical buildings and homes per capita. Is that right? So, fun fact.
I don't know if that fact is true, but I do know that Janesville is the second or first place in the state of Wisconsin
Okay,
with number of places on the historic register.
okay. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, Carl?
I just want to give a heads up to not only our current CFO and building leaders, Dave Leader, and that, but previous ones. They have kept this integrity of those buildings, that everything we've done to them, they almost look as if it's original. I don't know what that's about, and that's important to do. And Kathy, you having been around historic homes and some of the restrictions on them, there are a lot of things you can do, and there are things you shouldn't do. But the things that are done, air conditioning, the windows, you can't change. I don't think you can change the size of the windows, but you can fix the windows that exist. And those are some of the things. Not true?
That's a separate entity. That's city ordinance, which is different.
Cities controlling
Yes,
that.
and that
Okay.
only applies to
Okay.
homes within the Courthouse Hill district.
Okay. Well, anyway, I want to compliment our school district over the year.
continue. I interrupted.
Yeah, no, no worries. Your prerogative. So, another highlight of the meeting, of course, everything on the agenda is a highlight from my perspective, is really information related to the ESSER 3 Facilities Improvement Project. You may recall months and months ago, Tammy Carlson stood at this very podium after months and months of work and other discussion and really outlined the ESSER 3 plan, the majority of which is really focused on the instruction. So again, I won't take you through that entire process. We have a plethora of information available on the district website. But again, a lot of interaction, if you will, between the curriculum, student services, and Tammy Carlson, who's the Program 3 manager, related to evidence-based instructional strategies and use of other funds in support of education. So there are other elements which are allowed under ESSER funding that pertain to facilities. And so that was really the discussion, even as far back, it doesn't seem that far back, but we'll go back to April, where we also talked about this at the Finance Buildings and Grounds. And that's really targeting Franklin, which is our last secondary school to have conditioned air. All right, so, and then with conditioned air at Franklin, also really comes windows, right? So you don't really want to improve the energy efficiency or the conditioned air, IAQ elements of the building without really, if you will, sealing the building. So those two, from our perspective, go hand in hand. If we go back to the work that the district performed years and years ago relative to Act 32 and the millions of dollars that were spent at Edison, the one factor that we did not get to accomplish at Edison is windows at Edison, right? So again, we're trying to avoid a similar situation. So there we talked about, because it's somewhat of an integration of both ESSER funds as well as Fund 46, having a contractor, and we had a process for going through that and selecting our two partners, but to really bundle those projects rather than executing a number of different arrangements to accomplish the same work. All right, so if we look at Edison, we really have to replace those windows. That's a Fund 46 expenditure. All right, so if you look at windows at Franklin, the question comes, is that ESSER eligible? No, it is not, right? So that's, again, where we're looking to Fund 46 dollars to, if you will, complement those dollars that are ESSER funds. So that's it. And then there are also some other things, and even though it's construction, right, it is really focused on, we'll say, the environment in which the instruction is delivered, and that relates to, we have a greenhouse at both Parker High School as well as Craig High School, right? And then kind of going through the process, those were two targeted items, right, as well as family and consumer science space. All right, so there, if you will, right, and we have to be very careful in terms of the dollars that we have in terms of rough order of magnitude that we need to submit in terms of our WISE grants, the DPI, which is, if you will, the fiscal agent on behalf of the federal government as the State Education Association, you know, really needs to review that. We have to put things into the application, and it's a rough order of magnitude. These are not bid numbers, so there is an element of fluidity to it, just as if there were any other type of building project, right? But what it really comes down is, one, using Fund 46 dollars as we can close out the Edison project. Using a combination of ESSER funds and 46, we can condition air Franklin Elementary, right? And then it allows us to tackle some instructional space. Now, there is going to be some discussion, and what we shared, if you will, at the Finance, Buildings, and Grounds Committee is kind of a timeline, one of which is securing our partners after kind of going through the process up to that point. Now we really need to refine the scope, right? So tell us more in terms of the family consumer science space and really what the vision is instructionally for that. Right, so not only will we be meeting in the month of September with our two partners, Epstein Ewan, as well as JP Cullen, right? It'll also be working with Chris Medenwald, the CTE coordinator, the staff at that building in terms of, okay, let's really refine how we want to create this updated instructional space, right? And so not a lot of dollars to do that, right? But what is it? What's the vision? And can we still execute that vision? And the same, if you will, with the two greenhouses, right? So there's going to be some instructionally, what is it we hope to accomplish in their current state? And even if we say their current state, what we had built out was really a footprint about 1.5 times the size of the current greenhouses, all right? And so what really does that look like? Are they in the correct location? Because it may get to the point similar to any other building project where we go, yeah, we don't have funds for that. We have to figure that out. We may have to reprioritize. Right, so it really is coming down to a point of how are we leveraging not only instructional, our ESSER resources, right, but from a facilities improvement standpoint, right? Because as we know, and as the board is well aware, is we have millions and millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars related to mechanical, electrical, and plumbing upgrades at our facilities. Again, as I alluded to earlier, the average age of our district building is 61 years old. Right? So I'm 57, and I know what I feel like, right? So just keep that in mind, right? So we need to really leverage. The community is dependent upon us to take the resources, focus on instruction first, from student services, through curriculum instruction, special ed through general education, right? And we presented that plan, right? But also, how are we leveraging available dollars for our facilities? So a lot of time goes back to the development of the plan. We had an initial discussion first in April, right? And we wanted to follow up and keep the committee in the loop in terms of the progress of the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we're at the end of our agenda. I have not received any summary of any board requests recently. Ms. Jensen, could you help us with future meetings and times?
Sure. The next Board of Education meeting will be on Tuesday, September 27th at 6 p.m. here at the Educational Services Center.
Okay. All right. And we don't know whether we have a closed yet on that, do we? We do not. Okay, but I'm not anticipating anything. I'm just saying. All right. Well, we have reached the end of our agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you.